CEO and co-founder of MeduSoil. MeduSoil actually introduces a new class of materials destined to construction works. And the project was born simply by understanding that the way we build interacts immediately with the natural environment. You see, our earth and the underground world is full of cement, full of resins, full of lime and other potentially pollutant elements. So we decided to introduce a new class of materials called biominerals to enable sustainable infrastructure. If I would put it in one sentence, MeduSoil looks into nature and copies the way that nature builds minerals instead of going to nature and mine minerals. This is a very good question actually, because biology has revolutionized many fields of science and technology, including agriculture, including foods and the drinks industry, as well as pharma. But actually, biology has not yet managed to penetrate what I call the construction sector, the building sector. So during my PhD here at EPFL, I saw some bacteria that exist in nature and that are omnipresent in nature have the capacity to produce minerals, and that was fascinating. So we looked into these mechanisms and brought them to scale to eventually introduce this new class of materials and achieve a shift in paradigm in the way we build. Yeah, that's a very good question because construction is a very big and fragmented industry. So we address to three key stakeholders. On one hand, we address to general contractors, who are the ones that build actually. We address to also public authorities, because they are the ones that mandate large infrastructure to serve the public, such as roads, such as ports or airports. And then we also address to private owners, that real estate developers. So exactly, we address to these three stakeholders, and we managed to already have our product applied in several environments in Switzerland and also our first projects in Europe. And this has generated a lot of return of experience that we now use to scale up our projects. So it's important to understand that MeduSoil can impact both climate change mitigation and adaptation. Let's take the first one. We know that the construction sector is responsible for about 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Most of it comes from the manufacturing of cement, right? And trust me, we will never be able to reach net zero if we don't radically rethink the materials we use in this process, okay? So that's one thing. So we're introducing a new class of materials that has roughly between 50 and 60% lower CO2 footprints, including production, application, and also waste management, okay? Now, when it comes to climate change mitigation, indeed, we have recurrent extreme weather phenomena, not only heavy rainfalls that cause erosion, but also extreme heat waves that cause drying and cracking of soils, right? Because water escapes very fast the earth. So eventually, our materials can protect soils from erosion and from mitigation. And to give you some hint, this is a big project we're working on this summer, exactly to protect soils from cracking during heat waves. So how it all started? So it started through research, and I would say by the natural curiosity of myself, my co-founder, Professor Louis, and the team that later on joined MeduSoil. So it was natural curiosity. And then I would say it was also this feeling of us being tired of working always with the same materials. I'm a civil engineer by training. I did my PhD in mechanics, and I've been studying and working only with non-living stuff. Concrete, steel, glass, okay. These are, I would say, the materials that dominate now construction. So it was actually exciting to put into this equation like living systems. And I think this was a little bit the elements that brought us today to MeduSoil. I would tell you that I would not have developed MeduSoil if I hadn't done a PhD, if I hadn't been in a laboratory touching and feeling the technology, right? It's very important when you launch a startup or when you launch a project to be involved across all the steps of development. So the fact that I was touching the technology in the lab and I was seeing down to the scale of microns the bacteria producing minerals was definitely something that helped. However, if we see it from another perspective, sometimes investors don't like it. They try to label you, oh, you're the research guy, or you're the doctorate PhD guy, so here take 10 businessmen in your team and, you know, build a business. So you see, there are different approaches in perspectives, but at the end of the day, yeah, it's through collaborations and through multidisciplinarity that these projects can really take off faster. There are always difficult days, and me, every time I enter a meeting, I tell my team, listen, today we might have some good news or some bad news to handle, and we are here for the long run, and inevitably we will have to deal with good and bad things, I would say. Difficulties, yeah, I can mention two. One is obvious, it's COVID, right? So we were looking for funding during COVID lockdown, so we were like doing video conferences with our investors. We never shook hands before closing the round. No, actually the day that we closed the round, we shook hands for the first time. But COVID had really disrupted supply chains, and for us, we wanted to establish our first manufacturing plant, and this took actually almost twice what we were expecting, because many elements coming from Asia or from the US, they were hard to find. So this was something that we had really to, you know, to remain agile and maintain, I would say, our traction while delaying production. Then the second difficulty, of course, it's an industry that is very conservative. We know that margins are low, people know that. But by talking to people, you know, some of them will say, hey, fantastic idea, come back to me in 2 years, or come back to me, I have this big project in 5 years. And for us, it's a little bit killing, because we need to generate this traction as quickly as possible. And then suddenly you meet people that they have the same mindset that you, and eventually this is where you find your early adopters that are eager to bring something new, and eventually be the ones that will take the value earlier than others. So that was another, I would say, tricky handling through the way. So the team, you have met, or you'll meet today some of them. You know, we're very different people, okay? And my mindset is always listen to others, okay? Understand their hesitations, understand their ideas, and collectively, you know, discuss decisions together. And for me, so I think I'm a good listener, and it's something, of course, I'm still exercising, but it's, I think, something important for anybody that actually leads projects like that. Yeah. So listening is an important element, and the other thing is actually to be able to share and celebrate achievements, right? So this is something as well we always try to do. We discussed, you know, the industry is huge. We're talking about a very globalized market, because construction is dominated by the same materials, which are, I would say, produced and managed locally. So I think the biggest challenge is really to multiply the success stories in this early segment we have, which is really touching underground operations and the soil and the earth beneath buildings. And then the goal is to actually bring this project everywhere in the world. So as the main platform, MeduSoil wishes to offer global solutions to tackle local problems. So this implies setting up a distribution network, setting up local partnerships, strategic partnerships, and of course now we're developing aside new classes of biominerals, not only for underground construction, but also for shallow surface structures. So this is, I would say, a little bit the road ahead for us. Yeah, so we start from Switzerland. We are born here, and we want to turn this area to the center, to a new global center of bio manufacturing of cement or biominerals. So this is our platform. Why we do that? Because the R&D, the high-tech component of our offering is born here. Of course, then we can then bring it elsewhere, build production plants elsewhere, but I would say the core high-tech part will be produced here. Switzerland is very famous for its geology and also for its water. The way Switzerland protects its water from, I would say, other elements, traditional materials, is actually an example to serve also other territories and other countries learn how to treat water and protect water resources. So I would say we start from Switzerland, Now we have our first projects in France and also in DACH region, and our goal is to establish in the next 5 years a good presence in the European market before tackling the US and Asia. The public should vote for our startup because, you know, I see the public demand to change the way we actually build our world. Some cities around the world, you know, they're full of concrete, and I don't think this is sustainable in the long run. And I'm very happy to see that people now understand that we have to very well manage our natural resources to mine whatever we need, but if we have alternatives, we have to produce them in different ways. We have to recycle, for example. So I think these are all elements of a public discussion that I hear and see more and more, touching the hearts and minds of younger people, of my students as well. So definitely, I think our offering and the way we disrupt an industry that hasn't changed the past decades, it really resonates well with the public. Working in MeduSoil actually consists in many things. We have our headquarters here at EPFL Innovation Park. 10 minutes from here, close to Morris, we have a production space. So we have also collaborators there. And it's very common that we have to visit sites. So to be all over Switzerland, even abroad, to actually visit sites, understand the project, and be ready to design, I would say, an offer for these projects. So it's a very mobile and a very dynamic environment. Of course, the center of our activities is here, but working in MeduSoil means being mobile, touching a lot the earth, the bacteria, the production. So we're a tech company, right? In a sense that we develop a physical product, and this physical product requires almost everyday friction with the process to improve it, to optimize it, to scale it out. So that's a little bit some headlines that I can put in the day-to-day business of MeduSoil.